January 2009, Vultures and Bounty Hunters. We still try to create routes of salvation via the sea to make a breakthrough into this tormented land, now confiscated and imprisoned, every inch of it raped and reduced to a cemetery for corpses that are being denied a peaceful repose. For a few days now, even funerals have become the targets of the Israeli Air Force, as if murdered Palestinians deserve additional punishment in death as well. If a humanitarian passage is struggling to make its way and come in aid of a people at the end of their tether, the Spirit of Humanity, one of our Free Gaza movement boats, will try to be there for them. It sailed from Larnaca, Cyprus today, and will bring tons of medicines to Gaza's port, in addition to about 40 doctors, nurses, journalists, European parliamentarians, and human rights activists representing 17 different nations in all. Human beings, like myself, like many who vent their indignation, are ready to risk their lives rather than lounge passively in their living rooms watching news bulletins that reveal only a tiny fraction of what the massacre being inflicted upon us is doing here. On the 29th of December, my friends gave it a shot with dignity, but they were attacked by the Israeli Navy. It tried to sink them. They had to send out an SOS and fled to Lebanon with engine failure and a leak in their hull. On that occasion, it was only by pure chance that no one was badly hurt. So we hope human rights, as well as the lives of the activists, will be spared tomorrow. There are terrifying catastrophes in the world, such as earthquakes and hurricanes, inevitable natural phenomena. But Gaza endures an unnatural humanitarian catastrophe being perpetuated by Israel, damaging a people long reduced to abject poverty and submission. Gazans are a desperate people without bread or milk to feed their children. They no longer shed any tears when mourning, as their eyes are also on a strictly imposed diet. The entire world cannot ignore this tragedy, and if they continue to do so, we don't want any part of it. Every day we invoke someone above us to stop the genocide, but for tomorrow, all we ask is for our small boat to land in Gaza with its cargo of compassion and empathy. May the Palestinians also receive the same rights that Israelis or any other people on earth enjoy. The sea can be an anchor of hope or a scenario of destruction. According to the Ma'an press agency, with Reuters echoing their statement, the United States are about to ship 300 tons of weapons to Israel via cargo ships sailing from Greece. Weapons and enormous amounts of explosives and fuses, and all that's needed to raise thousands of houses to their foundations. There are 120,000 homeless displaced from Gaza to Jabalia already, but most, including many of my friends, haven't budged and have nowhere to flee. Journalists, doctors, and gravediggers. For 16 days, non-stop now, these have been the busiest professionals in Gaza. The circling vultures that follow in the wake of the bomber planes stir up more hatred among the Palestinians, especially towards those seated where the late lamented Yasser Arafat, 1929 to 2004, the former chairman of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, used to sit. They now itch to come and take over the throne, towering over Gaza's ashes. The death toll is now at 923, with 4,150 wounded. including 255 horrendously butchered Palestinian children. The number of dead on the Israeli side has thankfully stayed at 4. Rumor has it that Ehud Olmert, the Israeli Prime Minister, had told his side that hitting a death toll of 1,000 civilians marked the limit, after which this brutal attack and infanticide would be halted. It's a bit like what happens in the Avvoltoi markets in Palermo, where quarters of beef are hung up to drip blood out in the open, and you haggle for the meat, so much per kilo. Few Palestinians now miss tuning in for Ismail Hania's appearances on the small screen here in the Gaza Strip. You can't speak of a ceasefire without simultaneously establishing an end to the siege, contributing to keep Gaza under siege now that it's been reduced to a heap of rubble, not allowing provisions and medicine to come through, preventing the sick and injured from getting out, is equivalent to condemning them to more prolonged agony. These, in brief, were the words spoken by Hamas's leader, spoken from an underground bunker from God knows where. These words find an echo in Gazan public opinion. This was the speech of a leader who could have fled and taken refuge elsewhere. To the contrary, he decided to risk a bomb being dropped on his head like everyone else. I was just interrupted while typing this piece by the usual intimidating phone call ordering us to evacuate the building before a bombing. I'm currently in the building where the main international media agencies operate, these being, among others, Al Jazeera, Ramatan, and Reuters. We were forced to unplug our PCs, rush downstairs, and crowd the street, where we kept our eyes glued to the sky, trying to pick out where the destructive thunder would strike from this time. There won't be any cameras or reporters around to document the civilian massacre tonight, as we suspect that Gaza's innocent casualties will be more numerous than usual. Still standing in the street, I stared at Alberto, winking at him. He came up closer, and, whispering, I asked him whether he thought it plausible that the threatening phone call had been made especially for the two of us, after the discovery of the American website singling us out as targets. Alert the IDF military to target ISM. Number to call if you can pinpoint the locations of Hamas with their ISM members. From the U.S., call 011-972-2-5839-749. From other countries, drop the 011. Help us neutralize the ISM, now definitely a part of Hamas since the war has begun. Number 1 ISM target for the Israeli Air Force and IDF ground troops, Vittorio, Arrigoni, pictured below, is currently in Gaza assisting Hamas. This is copied from stoptheism.com. Don't bother to visit this website or provide a link to it from your own website. It's a sociological case to be passed on to future generations for study. On closer analysis of the present, the future will pronounce its sentence without appeal of how hatred was the purest of all feelings. Spite against anything that's different could fuel whole armies, becoming the feeling that brings masses of people together. There's no need for my enemies and those who wish for my martyrdom to dial that number. The Israeli army knows exactly where to find me tonight, on the Al-Quds hospital ambulances in Gaza City. Stay human. Stay human.